the energy you give is the energy you get back. So if you feel insecure, you're going to get insecure energy back. Our global spending power as a queer community is $4.7 trillion. If straight companies aren't tapping that, they're missing out on a huge opportunity. 30% of Gen Z identify as LGBTQ. It's one of the largest growing cohorts. My clients are like Deutsche Bank right now. I work with Cloud, Khloe Kardashian's protein popcorn. I'm working with Norms, which is backed by Pete Davidson.
Are companies not wanting to sponsor gay events because of the political climate in the US?
Yeah, my dad asked me when I started my company the year Trump came back was, why are you doing this? And I would agree with him. It's a little nuts. Gillette did a commercial at One Can Line where it was like a Black trans teenager learning how to shave for the first time from his dad. What Samantha Jones says, first come the gays, then the girls, then the population. We are an unnervingly loyal community. And when we like you and when you do it right, we will show up for you. I think straight men wish that they had what we had. I think they wish they had the structural and foundational forms of community that we've built due to the AIDS epidemic. Here's my little American insight for anyone who wants to make friends in the UK, is that the only time you guys talk to people is when you're in the smoking area.
Yes.
So don't let drag queens fool you. They are the activists, they're the people that are throwing bricks, but they are also the biggest capitalists.
We all learn from our failures, from some episodes in our life that we fail, we learn. Maybe you could share a little bit with us, what were your milestones that kind of made you who you are right now? Hi, I'm Azamat.
And I'm Oliver, and we're the founders of Friend of Dorothy.
In today's episode, we're excited to have in-person guest for the first time this year, Matthew Conrado, founder of the Alphabet Mafia Consultancy, founder of the podcast. Thanks for swiping left. Matthew, you are everything and anything. Tell us a little bit more yourself.
Yes, well, it's so funny. I love to call myself online the gay Kris Jenner because I believe everyone is anything and everything, and that's kind of my North Star. But I am the founder of the Alphabet Mafia Consultancy, which is a brand marketing company that builds loyalty with the LGBTQ consumers for brands.
Yeah. Well, let's start from the beginning then. Like, just a little bit about your upbringing, where you're from, and it will help us to better understand your values, your ambition, your mission.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in New Jersey, like 30 minutes outside of New York. And my dad is Ecuadorian, so I'm first generation. And then my mom was Italian-American from New Jersey, grew up very poor. And, they instilled kind of a really hard work ethic between me and my brother. I was the kid that did everything, even now to this day. Like, I did sports, I played baseball, then I got into theater, and then I was like involved with the church, and I was the National Honor Society president. I think it was all just like overcompensating for the fact that I was gay. I tried to just be everywhere and anywhere, and that's kind of where it all started.
Did you then realize that you are different at early age?
I was voted most likely to become famous. And that was kind of like I was the kid that wanted to be on stage and in front of everyone. So that's kind of, I think, the start of it. But I think I had it rough. I always feel like we lead with our trauma. I had it rough and was bullied as a kid. Of course, I think most of us do. But I think at the same time too, like, I was extremely loved. I had good family, I had good friends, and all of my friends actually were like in other towns because I did theater. So I never really hung out with the kids from my school. All my friends were older. So with that, I was around, teenagers and people going to college. So I feel like I had always absorbed a lot from older people early on, and, just was always surrounded by things that were different than me, which I liked.
And how do you define what you're going to do as an adult?
Yeah, again, I think it was a lot of trial and error. I worked in fashion. I worked at Michael Kors. I worked at John Varvatos, at Calvin Klein. I worked in TV. I worked in casting at CBS and was, getting coffees and getting soups in the middle of blizzards. I was in fashion. I was, blow drying underwear.
He was Emily.
Yeah. I was Emily in Paris. I did it all.
Paris. What's the other? The Devil Wears Prada.
The Devil Wears Prada. I was in Hathaway and Devil Wears Prada. I was Andy and Devil Wears Prada. Absolutely. And again, I guess I tried everything because that's what I loved. And, sitting there with the blow dryer just to be at a men's underwear shoot was my favorite. So.
Yeah.
Why did you use a blow dryer on the underwear shoot?
So it's actually so funny. So they had underwear just for one model, and then the other one, something happened. So they had to wash the wash the underwear. So I had to go sit there with the blow dryer and blow dry underwear for the models, which was, the way I
thought
got
it
to
was to
stay.
do with size. Maybe it was a cold thing and they were like trying to warm him up.
No.
That's what I had visions of.
Yep.
He sat there doing his genitals. Like, let's make him look bigger. Nice.
Definitely a gay awakening.
So that's quite intense and interesting experience.
Yeah.
And what years was that?
That was 2013 to 2017. I was in college, and I actually lived in London too in
Oh, right.
2015, which is like, I want to move back. So if you know any husbands, let me know.
I have an ex-husband you can have.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yes.
me.
Hello. Do you need an American?
He has a bad attitude. Doesn't clean up after himself.
Call it.
Other than that, he was great.
Call it.
I used to live in the US in 2011 to 2013. And then 2014, I moved to London.
Oh.
You said that you were here in 2015, right?
Yeah.
Yes, so we might bump into each other on Grindr.
Maybe.
Or in a dark room.
That too. I'm frequently there. Where in the US did you live?
I started at Duke, so it was North Carolina.
Oh, you're a Southern boy.
Well, for 2 years.
For 2 years?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
How was your experience with the Southern boys? They're kinky.
Interesting.
They're kinky.
Interesting. I lived in Durham. It's a very small town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there were like 20 people on Grindr.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they all knew each other.
But they're like all really oppressed too. They love, like they get really kinky. Like, have you ever heard of Pensacola Pride in Florida?
No.
Okay, so let me give you a little hint. In Pensacola Pride is when all the boys from the South, they finally get to like have sex on a beach, like during the day.
Okay.
And so I remember going, and it was 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and there was a guy named Big Dick Nick from Ohio.
Okay.
Big Dick Nick.
And all these twinks like really wanted to play with Big Dick Nick, so they started like sucking his dick, and then they were like lined up in a single file line, like sucking his dick, and just this twink came, then a daddy came, and like everybody was watching, and then there was this couple. It was like a bi couple, and her husband was like hooking up with a bunch of guys, and then she was like, you know what? She was fucked up. It was like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. She like hops on Big Dick Nick's dick and starts riding it in front of like 20 people. This is, again, all like literally in front of everybody at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it was insane. And I ended up like seeing Big Dick Nick at Pine's party like a month later and was like, are you bi? He's like, no. He's like, I was just giving a show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where is this?
This is in Florida, shockingly enough.
So did you enjoy Big Dick Nick before and after?
I didn't get to taste Big Dick Nick, but I did say, I went up to him and was like, hey, like, you don't know me, but I know you. I'm a huge fan of you. I saw you in Florida, right? He has an OnlyFans. You could send up.
Well, I'm going to be looking for him.
Yeah.
Signing up under the
I
table
know.
as we speak.
I'm already promoting him. I should give him my
Get a
referral
commission.
code. Yeah, I'll get a commission for the referrals.
Wow. So just knowing you for 10 minutes now, it feels like you are comfortable with your sexuality. You always felt comfortable?
So I was a fat kid growing up. I wouldn't say, and to this day, I still think I'm a little uncomfortable with my body. Working in nightlife too, you're around like all these there's a lot of pressure to look and feel a certain way. But I did find that one thing I've always been confident about is my energy and my personality. And I think that's also what I kind of learned when you're out in nightlife. Like, it's more the energy you give is the energy you get back. So if you feel insecure, you're going to get insecure energy back. But if you just go in there unapologetic, you're going to meet some of the coolest people. And honestly, people with the craziest bodies are actually some of the most insecure people ever. So
Of course.
The more confidence and energy you bring into any room, you're going to attract the energy that you want to get.
Yeah. What else have you learned for yourself to feel comfortable and confident in the gay world?
Like any gay New Yorker, we probably, our whole personality is our jobs. And, we build success to have a sense of worth. I think I've gained a lot of confidence through just like the mission of my company and the mission of who I am as a person. I think I was brought down here on earth to build economic opportunity and influence of the queer community. I thought it was really cool when I was doing my first campaign at PepsiCo with bubbly sparkling water, that there was this really interesting gap between business and queer nightlife and queer entrepreneurs. Like, you'd have really, really smart people partying, doing ketamine off people's asses in the middle of Fire Island. And like, there was just kind of I thought that was an interesting perspective. I think a lot of us try to silo our lives into like, when we're at office, we're in office drag. When we're at the party, we're in party drag. But I thought there was a really cool combination that queer people get to do, even celebrity. It's kind of bridging the gap of all these things. And that's kind of how I like to lead with my content, lead with my company, is realizing that, we're all just like really fun and cool, interesting people.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Your company, you focus on, if I'm understanding it right, getting, for example, straight companies to market to the gay community, yes?
Yeah. So it was led from 2 insights. One was that our global spending power as a queer community is $4.7 trillion. That's the equivalent of the GDP between Japan and China. So that's if straight companies aren't tapping that, they're missing out on a huge opportunity. 30% of Gen Z identify as LGBTQ. It's one of the largest growing cohorts. So I was like, hey, my clients are like Deutsche Bank right now. I work with Cloud, Khloe Kardashian's protein popcorn. I'm working with Norms, which is backed by Pete Davidson. It's a hemorrhoid cream. But the second insight was that 10% of all entrepreneurs last year identified as queer. So that's actually like kind of like a record-breaking number. And so I was thinking that there's not really a person online who's the face of LGBTQ marketing. Like queer marketing and agencies exist, but there wasn't really somebody who I thought represented the new generation that was like the face of it online. So that's kind of how I built my whole persona is for my company. And like, again, being known as the gay Kris Jenner, the momager to everyone. So that's kind of how I built it.
So what's interesting is in the UK, I don't know about in the US, for example, Pride here, last year lost most of its straight companies that were investing into it. And I think a big part of that was to do with your president. So the question is that something you're seeing in the US as well? Like, are companies not wanting to sponsor gay events because of the political climate in the US?
Yeah. My dad asked me when I started my company the year Trump came back was, why the fuck are you doing this? And I would agree with him. It's a little nuts. But I do believe that the pendulum will swing. And right now, it's actually more daring to start the company in a year where things actually was like, I think it was 39% of companies backed out of Pride, of NYC Pride this year.
39%.
39% of, yeah. So, 100% has been hit. The administration is getting hit. But I've also realized too, in all of this, and this is kind of why I continued with the company and what I've seen success, is that there are companies that are going to back us and there's companies that are not. Start focusing on the companies that are going to, because they're the ones that are going to have the long-lasting impact in the past. I think, we've always talked as a community that we don't love the performative marketing of it all and whatever. And you're right, everyone felt like they had to do it and that's why it felt so fake. But there are actually companies out there that make sense for us that are going to actually build with our community, and these brands are going to see giant success. I think you're seeing it. We're leading culture. Heated Rivalry, Chapel Roan, all queer people are the culture.
Yeah. Well, the great thing is, first of all, obviously with the companies that have stuck around, as you can see who's actually loyal to the gay community. And the ones that haven't, well, they'll be back. As you say about the pendulum, as soon as you get a new president and the views change, hopefully, I imagine all them companies are going to jump back on the bandwagon and want to throw money at it.
I think so too. I can be a little realistic in the fact that a lot of them actually have had to legally change DEI or take away DEI or take out the things that made it DEI public facing. But internally, they're all still having the conversation where they are doing it. They're just trying to not be under the limelight of the Trump administration.
Okay.
That being said, once the pendulum swings back, they are going to be much more putting more money towards it. I just think they have to understand the nuances. Again, I think everyone was very safe by putting the rainbow logo on because they didn't really have anyone on their marketing team that understood it.
Yeah.
And that was another reason why I was like, oh, my model works as a consultancy where it's like, if you don't have somebody at the table, I'm the person you bring to at the table to help you with your marketing.
Okay.
So do you think that so the phase one was putting a rainbow flag on your logo, but how is it different now?
Yeah, it's having a nuanced content for your consumer, but then having the universal message that applies to everyone. I think the perfect example I give to this is Gillette. Gillette did a commercial, it won a Cannes Lion, where it was like a Black trans teenager learning how to shave for the first time from his dad. And that was unique to the brand. It made sense for the brand. It hit one of the most marginalized demographics of the community, but it was a message where anyone looking at that could understand what it was like to learn something from your parents for the first time.
Yeah.
That is true marketing. That's true LGBTQ marketing at its finest, is when you are able to have that nuance of, hey, how does your brands actually work with them? What I always got frustrated was all these like rainbow logos, and they would be like, oh, this toothpaste helps you live authentically because we want you to live authentically and use our toothpaste. It's like, no, that's not how marketing should work. What's actually interesting is, oh my God, I'm going to blank on the brand right now, but there was one brand, but it was something for like feet and maybe it was feet, I don't know. But what they used is they used drag queens for they put it on their heels. They put the hairspray on the heels because, it helps them stick when they're dancing.
Okay.
So I thought that was a really interesting insight a nuanced insight that was like, no, this is actually how the community used it. This is something that you don't really think. I think Grindr's doing a perfect example of that with like the gay sheep. Gay sheep typically get slaughtered. They wanted to use the wool from the gay sheep to build a show, like for their tech company. Again, I think understanding those interesting insights that only people in the queer community know about is the future of the marketing.
But I think there is also a difference. There are gay brands that needs to be marketed to gay people, and there are straight brands that want to maybe get a little bit more closer. What's the difference there?
I think, again, with straight brands that want to engage, again, I think it all depends on risk mitigation. Straight brands can say in certain things or whatever, but I do believe at the end of the day, we're all still using most of these brands. But gay brands, and specifically, I think get to just play a lot more. Like, I imagine you guys, your marketing just gets to be way more fun. It's way more nuanced. It's way more, and it's also like focused on a certain part of the community.
Yeah.
You're not forced to be like, oh, I have to be for everything, everyone. You can be if you want. But I think I think what we've learned in marketing, and again, this is the perfect way to explain it whenever I talk about people to my company or talk to people about my company, is what Samantha Jones says: first come the gays, then the girls, then the population. Like, it really is, marketing is not a one size fits all approach anymore. It really stems from these niche communities, and I think when you understand how your brand plays within the niche community, that's when you're really succeeding.
Yeah, I mean, I think with us, it was very much what we wanted to do when we were building our brand, was create something. Because there's lots of companies that do similar to what we do, products and so on. But the problem is, they're straight companies and they dabble a bit in gay marketing. So it's like, oh yeah, we'll do this little bit almost to appease you. And I think we went completely the opposite direction.
Totally.
We were like, every single thing we do, we almost want to stamp gay over the front of it. We're launching our pharmacy, which we were talking about a little while ago. And again, we've gone very heavy on that. Like, we're literally doing only things that gay men want. I think it's really important that I personally don't like when brands do it as a token gesture. I don't like brands who just dabble a little bit, especially around Pride Month. It just feels so fake.
So I have a question for you. Are you looking to expand to the straight community? Does your products expand to the straight community? And what does that look like?
Interestingly, every single week, without fail, we get at least 5 emails from straight men. Can straight men take the cum gummy? Will they still work for straight men?
Oh my God.
It's literally, we have a template answer now because we're like answering it every single week. Yeah, of course. No, we're not going to target the straight community. Like, we're a gay brand. And we're building that out, like with our app, with the pharmacy for PrEP and Doxy PrEP and all of these things. Like, we very much want to move from being a sexual wellness company to just being a wellness company. Like, something that has everything a gay person could want, but in one place. So it's not like you have to go and get these things from companies who are just picking up on the pink pound or et cetera. I don't know what you call it in the US. We genuinely have all of these different things. We're creating a new ambassador thing where we work with gay personal coaches, gay life coaches, all these different people who are going to be contributing into our app and putting out content there. Content which is helpful to the community. It's not there so we can sell more products or something. Like, we genuinely, our mission is to do something that puts back into the community that helps. And build something that's just for us. Because a lot of the brands, it's like, oh, we'll have this straight part and we'll put a little bit on the end where we just include the gay people.
How have you found loyalty with queer consumers as opposed to,
Amazing. Really good. Like, people seem to love it. And all the interactions, like every single time I talk to a customer, which I make an effort to do a lot, they are so almost appreciative, it feels, which is a weird word to use for us being so openly gay. Which is what I liked about your company. And you say about the pendulum, I just think it's really cool that you now, and it's still quite early days, I think, for both of us, you get to work with the companies who are
doing it,
actually genuinely on board to help gay people.
Yeah.
to help our community.
I love to hear that too, because that's actually a selling point, I think, for the straight companies. It's so funny. I would have never, jokingly enough, we always make Trixie Mattel made the big joke of like, gays don't buy the ticket until the day of because they don't know what they're going to do. And so there's kind of that running joke of like, we all make our things last minute decisions. But when I was pitching to Norms, which is the straight, like it's a hemorrhoid cream, it's backed by Pete Davidson. But when I was talking to it was a Gen Z marketer. And it was funny because he was like, no, we think this is a really smart community and a community that's loyal to us, like loyal. And that's what we really want to capture is the loyalty. And I would have never thought that was like actually the perception from straight people too. We are an unnervingly loyal community. And when we like you and when you do it right, we will show up for you. And I think that's actually the beauty and the selling point of our community is we really are there for each other. We might break glasses and we might like scream and yell a lot, but when we're there for you, we ride or die. And I think that's the beauty of our community.
100%.
I think I'm coming back to your question about whether we want to go for straight community. Well, let's be honest, straight community of men is way bigger.
Yeah.
So it's a big market.
No, totally.
But it was quite interesting. We saw some brands that aspire us, including Pure for Men or Popstar Labs. It's interesting that when they mute themselves that they're for gay brand, they're losing their identity very fast.
Yeah.
There were like periods when you saw that Pure for Men was targeting straight men. Or in Popstar Labs, do you know where's Popstar Labs? They're doing a supplement which is equivalent to our Calm Gummies.
Okay. It's really good. It's a great supplement.
Yeah. So, but it's quite interesting that sometimes when you go on their social media, yes, you see gay porn actor.
Yeah.
And then another reel is straight couple. And it just really confuses me as a consumer. Like, it just feels something is not sitting with me right here. So you're like, okay, so you're not for gay community. So it just kind of makes you think a little bit more about next time you buy this product.
No,
I don't know why.
Totally. But I think that's also the question we have to start asking ourselves. And I find the anthropology of a party as in this perfect example of how, again, we've always been underground. And all of our parties have always been underground. But then, people catch on to the party and the nucleus of the party starts to expand and the cool people find out about the party, they come. Then the cool people are the influencers, they're the ones that make it big. And then it starts to become commercialized. I think Honey Dijon's a perfect example of this. Somebody who went on to Beyonce, now everybody wants to go to a Honey Dijon concert, a show. And so like the straight people start coming in. And then for me, I'm always like, look, at the end of the day too, that founder, that entrepreneur is actually expanding their market. And they're exploring, but like the gay people then feel like slighted. But I do believe, in order for us to have more influence and build our economic impact, I think it's exciting that queer, gay, straight people want to be involved in the culture, but getting to form and frame it and brand it as we want it. So, it's so funny when you were talking before too about like, are straight people allowed to use it? I met with the people at Out Magazine, like Equal Advocate, et cetera. And 99% of the company's gay, but there's like a couple straight employees, and they were like, oh, normally you have to go through like LGBTQ alliance training. I had to go through like heterosexual alliance training, which I thought was really funny. So again, I think for me, I'm so happy that we have these brands. I think these brands are for us. I think founders that are creating brands for us are exciting. I think it's also exciting that we're influencing straight culture, and that just makes us even more of a powerhouse in the grand scheme of things.
I think a big factor here is social media. Because it feels like gay men want to be more visible on social media comparing to straight men. And I think that was one of the success factors actually for our brand because gay men like to post. And I think corporate world is trying to get into social media.
Totally.
And it's quite difficult to find straight men to promote their products.
Well, that's what's so funny about the age of like, TV is kind of dying and social media is the new TV. And so what's so funny is queer people, RuPaul has said this, people have always been early adopters. We're 10 years ahead of everyone. So, reality shows look to RuPaul as the model of like how people engage with a reality show via social media. And so that's why I think we're kind of the ones leading culture right now, because we've been doing social media for so long. We are ahead of the game, and why, there's gay men that are influencers and queer people that are, kind of forming everything right now. It's really exciting. And I think it's just awesome. And the more access and opportunity we have is always my mission. So
And I think it's a really, like, working as a gay person, this is the first, I've been running businesses for 20 years. And this is the first company I ran that has been just for gay people. And I really, I can honestly say, I was thinking about it the other day, I've never had a business where I've been like, I enjoy this so much.
yeah,
Like, it really is an ideal job. It's just great to be
Yeah.
able to work with people where you don't need to worry about offending them. Like, you just, because we all want the same thing. We all
Totally.
grew up pretty much, we have our differences. We get where each other's coming from once we let our guard down a bit. And as a brand, it's really nice to work with gay people. Like, we work with probably about 1,500 influencers.
yeah,
And they're all lovely. The messages they send is really nice. You know, it's all so supportive. And even our customers, it really is great to be working in the gay industry.
I love that our community is kind of a microcosm of the world. Like, you have intersectionality across race, gender, ethnicity, generation, economic status. Like, it's so lovely to me that in one space you could be with somebody that looks completely different than you and have a whole different life that you've had, but you're bonded by, to your point, that one story of this is the time that I came out, this is what I felt. And I had to face that adversity, and I've overcome that, and I've now found my chosen family and my community.
And as soon as we get past our differences, because they all have it, like, you notice it a lot with tribes, like different
course.
tribes, when they're talking about each other, can be quite negative, or sometimes when they're talking about their own almost tribe. But once you get past that and you get to the common point that we all have, which is ultimately coming out, and how hard or that was, because I don't think for anybody it's 100% easy, maybe 1 in a million. But I think once you get to that point, any barrier between any gay people just vanishes.
Totally.
I just think it's a beautiful thing.
Totally. And I think it's something, especially in this male loneliness epidemic, what's so interesting is I think straight men wish that they had what we had. I think they wish they had the structural and foundational forms of community that we've built due to the AIDS epidemic. We built these spaces for us. We built these organizations. We built these tribes out of need for safety. But it's in this whole process, we still have community. And that's the only thing getting us through these dark times of the Trump administration. We have each other.
And interesting you mentioned the loneliness thing at the moment, because I think that's something that's really big here in the UK. And it's something that we, as a company, are like, well, what can we do about it? And we are launching in the UK an events thing, which is about, the idea is to give gay people a place to come where we can connect, but not about alcohol, not about sex or hooking up or things like that. We want to build something where you can go to, board games.
Yeah.
Do board games with other gays, go and do running, you go basketball, whatever the case may be, pottery. We've loads of different ideas that we can incorporate into it. Is it quite a big thing in the US at the moment as well with gay loneliness?
Yeah. So, I think in New York City, everyone is always out and about. So I can kind of speak to that experience. But, I would say off the same insight, I started something called speakeasy salons, which are essentially, I always found that networking events were kind of like a name and a LinkedIn, or you were just going out and partying. And not a lot of people wanted to always party. Or even if you were partying, there were really interesting folks. I remember being at an orgy and I was like, oh, I'm next to the guy who's running the ACLU right now. He's like fighting for our rights and legally. And it was crazy to me. So I felt like, let me create these little salons where you come. There's only like 10 to 12 people invited. They're all like really interesting people. No one really knows each other. And we start off with one question. And then it's like a kind of a think tank of like how all these people respond and they get to know each other. Aside from just like being in a giant room filled with networking, it's like, no, you actually get to know and meet these people. And people, the feedback was kind of similar. And it was so nice because it was a space where you got to see people that you would see out. You had no idea anything about them, but they were really interesting folks. And then they've actually had long lasting relationships. And I think that's kind of the future.
I love that. I have a question, however. You say salon, because for me, I don't know if I think maybe the word is different in American. Because here, you say salon, and I imagine all these ladies with
Hair
purple
salon.
rinses getting their hair done.
No. So salons were don't eat me alive on the internet if I'm getting this wrong. But salons were like also in the 20s when people would go, or not 20, or like not, or when they would go and have
Cowboy things.
conversations.
No,
Cowboys. And that's
It was
also
like
came to my mind.
It was like a salon is when you'd go. They were like think tanks. It's where people would and I don't know if that's an American or British. I don't know.
It's probably an American thing. I love that. But that's just like really, it is.
Can you explain a little bit more the concept? What's the format?
Yeah, so it was actually stemmed from my friend who created these things called Tiny Dinners, which he was the founder of Common Good or something good. And he was like, oh, I'm 40 and I'm not able to make friends. So like, let me just throw dinners, but we all have small apartments. So he's like, let me throw these small dinners and everyone invited to the dinner table shouldn't know each other.
Okay.
So you would come and then you would start off with a single question and then you would kind of talk about the question throughout the night. And so that's kind of how I kind of adopted it for a queer marketers and founders and entrepreneurs and business folks to be like, I wanted something more substantial than just, hey, here's a space where we all get to network and share each other's LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I wanted it to really be a substantial conversation of thought leaders in different industries to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where they stemmed and were created.
I love it. So just to give you an example of what we observe in London, maybe we are biased because we are in wellness industry.
Mm-hmm.
But there are at least 2 or 3 brands which succeeded very well.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them called Gains.
Yeah.
And it started as a running club.
Mm-hmm.
And literally every Saturday now there are more than 700 people who are running, gays.
Wow.
Yeah. And then in the end they socialize and goes for drinks or something. But it gave them platform to meet and do something different.
Yeah.
And now Connor, who is the founder of it, he's creating an app for it, and he's doing way more than just a run-in, which is brilliant. But also we have friends at a startup called Tribes.
Mm-hmm.
So they create wellness events throughout the months. They have like a calendar of what's going on in London. For example, yoga for gays, running for gays, paddle for gays, tennis for gays, social, etc. And it also became extremely popular straight away because gays do want to connect.
Yeah.
I think many people are very tired of just clubbing or Grindr.
Yeah.
And I think the third very big factor of success here is the culture, because in British culture compared to American, and I used to live in the US, is that British culture is very tight when it comes to coming and approaching people in public places.
Oh yeah, trust me, I know.
If somebody talks to you in a bar, still now I'm like, where's my wallet?
I am aware. Well, it was so funny when I was here. What I learned, here's my little American insight for anyone who wants to make friends in the UK, is that the only time you guys talk to people is when you're in the smoking area.
Yes.
So I would always bring cigarettes and a lighter, and so I would say, oh, like, hey, do you have a cigarette or a light? And they'd be like, oh, are you American? And I said, no, I'm from New York. And then I did the Carrie Bradshaw line, and then they would start talking to me, and that's the only way. Like, if I was at the bar and just trying to get a drink, everyone would freeze up. But in the smoking areas, when your guard is a little bit down, and that's how actually I made my friends here. Here's a little fun story. I met this guy, and at the coat check line, he was up in the front, I was in the back, and I looked at him and I said, "Wait for me at the top." And it was at Shadow Lounge back in the day.
Shadow
Lounge. Yeah. And so he like waited for me. I got my coat. I went up to him and I said, "Hi, I'm Matthew. Nice to meet you." And he's like, "Oh, are you American?" I said, I did my little spiel. And then I said, "Well, am I calling my Uber or am I going home to you?" And he's like, "Oh, I guess you're coming to me." And again, it was so forward, but like he loved the intensity. We were like hooking up, and then I ended up coming back, meeting all his friends, and then his friends I kept seeing in LA and New York and all those places throughout the world. And that's how I built my base here. But I will say the difference between American versus UK friendships is like UK, it's a lot harder to make friends, but once you have them, they're your friends for life. America, it's really easy to make friends, but it's really hard to like maintain those friendships. So I think that's kind of the biggest difference.
So I think part of the problem is, or certainly part of what the problem has been, is as gay people, we have 2 spaces where we can connect.
Yeah.
And it's been Grindr, which has been amazing for us, and bars. Other than that, there's never really been anywhere else that you can go and connect outside in daytimes. Gyms have predominantly been straight. So they feel like you can't connect as a community while there's lots of straight men maybe there. And I think most of the gays I know now are over Grindr. I mean, they're still addicted to it, but they're over the concept of it. They almost don't like using it. It's got a very negative tone towards it when people talk about it. And bars, as you say, it's very hard to, in bars and clubs, make long-term connections. And I think that's why companies such as Tribes and Gains are doing so well. I was watching a video about Gains the other day. You know, he had like 4 people on his first run.
Okay.
15 on week 2.
Okay.
And now it's like a year and a bit later and he's up to 700. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And I just think it's amazing. And like literally it's on a Saturday morning. I can never get childcare. But I always want to go because every single time I see anyone posting about it, the connection seems genuine, not forced. Like it's just, they're there to enjoy each other's company. And the whole tribe things disappears. Yeah. Like it doesn't seem that twinks are sticking with twinks or muscle guys are with muscle guys or bears are bears. It just seems everybody's out for a fun to enjoy themselves, which I just think is really cool.
Totally. And I think that's actually another insight of how, to your point of like asking about how queer marketing is changing, is I do believe, you know, we've always looked at marketing through a demographic lens. It's like gay men, lesbian women, trans people, like, and that's just not really what it is anymore. It really is finding situations. So that was kind of what I did at PepsiCo before I left, was like building occasion strategies. And that's how I think, like, to our point now, to form community, it's run clubs and it's, you know, or chess, whatever. It's like finding hobbies and looking into these hobbies. And that's actually what builds the community together. I think, again, we've always been notorious for partying and clubbing because that's, again, what everyone did. But you're going to be seeing all of these snowball effects from these hobbies build from the community, because we still want to be around people that are like us and that are identify as queer, but we want to do it through other forms of variance. Actually, I have a friend who in New York, she formed this.
You have a friend?
I do have one friend. Yes, one friend. She, similar to your friend, started, it was like called Queer Latines. And she was like, there's not really a space for like Latin queer people to like meet. So she had one thing at a bar. It was like 1 to 5 people. Now she has like over 20,000 followers. She's her own influencer now. And I think that's my message too for anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, is that it doesn't have to look successful and to have 700 people right away. It can literally start with 1 person, 2 people, 5 people, and then it grows from there. And that's kind of how I looked at with my company. I've been very fortunate to have success in the beginning, in the first year, but that didn't come right away. That came from just me constantly being out and over the years developing a network that has really helped me land on my feet. So.
Yeah, and same with us. We're nearly 3 years old. We're 3 years old in May. We were just planning whether we were going to have a party. But like in our first few months, we were doing 6, 7, 8 orders a day. And now, like, it's just massive.
Yeah.
Like, it's so big, especially in the US. And we never even planned on going to the US for the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Now it's our biggest market. So I think, with entrepreneurs, it can start really small. And it just sort of can snowball really easy.
Yeah, and the distribution channels have changed. Like Shopify makes it easy for people to start companies right now and sell. It used to be like there were so many barriers to entry, but now with the internet and the democratization of social media, like things have a lot more access. I don't know if I've gotten any sales on my thing, but my thing had like 500 shares with the video I did with the party gummies. So
nice.
I got like 10,000 views. So I assume they're doing well. You know, people loved it.
People do love them.
Yeah.
Especially the cum gummies.
People, yeah.
We're coming back to marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing and drag queens.
Yes.
What's the history? What's the trends? What's going on now?
So don't let drag queens fool you. They are the activists. They're the people that are throwing bricks, but they are also the biggest capitalists in our community. When you really think about it, like, and they should be. They they understand. I think, and RuPaul's kind of really helped with that. Of like, hey, how do you become a brand? How do you build? You know, how do you become salespeople? You're selling to get your tips. And that's what I loved about drag, is that, you know, they're kind of like our spokespeople for the community, and they've really integrated with women. You know, it's like the drag brunches and they're crossing over. And so I think it's just exciting. I want them to be successful. I love seeing them on crossover shows like The Traders and Survivor. Like, it's just so exciting to me. And the more the world is exposed to that, the less scary people are of drag. I don't even know why this is even becoming a thing anymore, that they're freaking out about it in Florida. We're all in drag. We're all born naked the rest of the time.
2 more questions about drag queens. Do you think, for example, even RuPaul's Drag Race, is the show fading away from its popularity?
I would say, I honestly no. And here's the thing, no. And I'll tell you why. Because I think with the community, and I asked kind of about the loyalty situation because I think our community tends to get tired of things once it's like cool and commercial. But like they just had their highest rating season premiere ever.
Okay.
So they're still fully on the way. And RuPaul was really smart about that, bringing Michelle Visage in early and having all these like celebrity guests and bringing in women, because at the end of the day, he knows his market isn't just gay men. It extends to straight women and extends to and he saw it beyond just the underground scene, and he got a lot of flack for it. And but again, I think he's a visionary. I think for him to make an underground thing mainstream and then build empires from it, Trixie Mattel, Kim Chi, like all these people are now like and influencing and hiring queer people. That's how I think of the vision, especially for my company. I'm like, we have to think playing chess, not checkers. It's not just for our community anymore. It's building empires and foundations for our community to grow and then hire more queer people behind the scenes, in front of the camera. But we have to do that by stepping and playing in with the straight people sometimes. And I think that's what RuPaul is. I always say there's 3 people I want on my marketing team. It's RuPaul, Kris Jenner, and this scares a lot of people, but I say Donald Trump, because I think they're really smart about how they influence people and their messaging and how I think you can learn a lot of life lessons through the simple things that RuPaul says.
Yeah.
You can't love yourself unless you love somebody else. Like they make really complex ideas into simple messages that everybody remembers. And that's, I think, the beauty of marketing.
And does it make drag queens like an easy answer to any marketing campaign for corporate world? So corporate companies coming like, we want to,
just put a drag queen in.
We want the gay market or the market something for gays. Drag queen.
Yeah. I think, you know what? And RuPaul has done this. They are the most commercial lens to the community right now. So like people know them as, this is me doing a gay campaign. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I also believe though, why would I put a drag queen in my banking commercial? I don't think that makes sense. What you should be doing is like putting like gay financier influencers or things like, or put like, that to me makes more sense. And so, but those don't exist. They're starting to exist. Now there are little creators that are, teach people money. My friend just came out with a book, like Queer Influence and Money. Like those are starting to come. But, at first it was kind of drag queens because that was the only thing people know about gay culture. And when you talk about working at Pepsi, and I always explain to Pepsi, like drag is like sports. Think about it. Like we go to a bar to watch it. It's what we talk about, who we like, who we don't like. Like that's how straight men need to think about gay men, of how we don't, we're not watching football as much, but we are watching our favorite drag queen and we're talking about it and we're betting on who's going to do what. And that's like our form of community. Their merch. Yeah. Or now it's like, buy their merch. Like I think like, it's kind of like, it's like the Housewives now. Everybody's watching the Housewives and getting excited about the Housewives and talking about their, like, that's just kind of how I think we just do things differently, but it's the same concept.
So throughout this episode, we all talk about business, about success. You share your success stories. We a little bit share ours. But I don't think it's always like that, right? So we all learn from our failures, from some episodes in our life that kind of, we fail, we learn. Maybe you could share a little bit with us what were your milestones that kind of, made you who you are right now?
Yeah, I think what I've learned is rejection is redirection. And that's kind of the plot of the theme of my podcast, Thanks for Swiping Left. And honestly, when you think about where I was a year and a half ago, I was laid off. I was dealing with a breakup. I had a ex-boyfriend who just didn't like the way that I did social media. Always felt like I was just a partier, that I had no substance. And I felt like my success came from wanting to prove someone wrong and prove my company wrong, that why'd they let me go? Like that was really kind of the impetus of the success. And so that's what to me, I think for anybody who fails or anybody who, falls down, getting back up and taking all of that anger is what drives your success and the future. So I created a company. I became a content creator. Like I launched a podcast. Everything he said that I wasn't, I became, and I now monetized it. And I'm so proud of that because it proved not only to him, but to me. And I didn't really need to do it for him, but it was definitely a catalyst.
Do you want me to go and piss in his letterbox?
Sure. I'll send you the address.
Whenever somebody goes to Azamat, I go and piss in their letterbox.
There you go.
Teach them a lesson.
I'll send you the address.
But I'm sure, it doesn't come in one day. Oh, we broke up. Okay, tomorrow I'm opening the company. Was there a time when you had to explore yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we broke up 3 years ago. So this has been an entire 2 years learning who I am. Because I think that's the other thing we do as a community is we look at like what's given to us. Like you said, Grindr, partying, this. And I was like, at one point I was like, well, who am I? Like,
Mhm.
what do I like? I was a theater kid my whole life. I, wanted to learn about art. I wanted to go see more shows, go travel more. I nomaded the country during COVID. I lived in London. I loved solo traveling. I'm a huge advocate of solo traveling because I believe that there was one time my first trip to Greece, I met this guy who was like a tech billionaire and he had a gay son. And I just met him on Mount Philippapu. And I was like, could you give me any advice? And he's just like, yeah, my advice to you is just say yes to everything. As long as you're safe, he's like, just say yes.
Like, do you want a bump?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Just know what it is first. I've had plenty of K-hole
And what was the mountain called?
Mount Philippapu.
And from this nomading experience, what did you learn about yourself?
I learned, again, the energy you give is the energy you get back. So if you are going into any space where you're by yourself and you're having a shitty attitude, you're going to meet shitty people. But if you go in there with a smile, confidence, and, regardless of how you look or how you feel, just fake it. And you will be surprised at actually how kind people are and how they're all feeling the same thing. The number one thing I could tell anybody too is nobody's thinking about you as much as you are thinking about yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. We're also insecure about what other people think. I'm like, and what I've learned as a content creator is no one gives a shit about you. They don't. They give a shit about what you make them feel first, and then they're invested into who you are as a person. So if there's any solace in that, realize that nobody gives a shit about you until you give them a reason to.
Yeah. And you get to choose what the shit they give about you is, whether it's good or whether it's bad, by the energy you put out, I think.
Totally. And the other thing too is, what I've also learned as I'm creating my business is nobody doing better than you will ever think poorly of you. Like, it's always the people that are a little insecure and are envious of what you're doing that are talking shit behind your back or talking shit to your face. Anybody who's doing better knows what it's like to struggle. And so they will do nothing but lift you up. And that's truly a confident person.
Yeah, 100%.
Amen.
I was watching one of your reels this morning. I was watching loads of your reels this morning, as I always do. What's a power gay?
Oh, what's a power gay? Yes, that's my new series. Yeah, I think a power gay is somebody who has influence in the queer community. Like, I think anybody could be a power gay. I think that there's so many words that kind of got branded for our community the past few years. It's like everything is, again, a bit about trauma, about identity. It's been about me. And I understand. We have to talk about the trauma to work through it. But I also believe that what we are actually is a powerful community. We are power gays. We are powerful trans people, powerful lesbians. Like, we run shit because I think, again, we're all kind of overcompensating, which is fair.
Yeah.
But like, I just wanted to hear more of that now. I think in this dark time, we really need to start seeing more aspirational and inspirational stories. And yes, that does not invalidate the adversity. It doesn't invalidate anyone's experience. But in the most powerful thing beyond fear is hope. And we have to give people hope. And right now, I want to just see our community thrive. And that's kind of the content that I put out because I believe that we are.
I love the power gay ones. I think
Power
they're
gay.
really good. And I just think it's almost a mindset.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to have 10,000 followers to be a power gay. You could have 100. But you could just do things in a way that makes stuff happen.
Yeah.
That helps people. I think it's really good. Like, I'm so excited to see where your Power Gay series goes.
Thank you.
Power Gay is a new supplement by Friend of Dorothy.
Yes,
Will be
yes.
launched in
Let's
March
do it. Let's do it.
2026.
Yeah. That'd be perfect.
Matthew, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really, really enjoyed it. And I love your brand. I love meeting other entrepreneurs, and especially like now being in the UK and meeting entrepreneurs in the UK. It's so exciting for me. And I love that we're doing this like across.
Cool. Well, I love your podcast. I'd listened to it the other day. And we're in New York, hopefully later in the spring. So maybe we'll pop along and come on yours.
Yes. Well, actually, it's so funny. So my co-host is here. That's actually what we're going to do later. So maybe we can all meet together.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you.